Hello and welcome back. I believe this is going to be part 5 of our engine build, our TRX250R build. And today what we are going to do is we're going to assemble our clutch cover, our water pump, get this cover ready to install on our motor. I'm going to do another video where we are going to install the clutch assembly. That's going to be a separate video, but today we're just going to go over the assembly of our water pump. All right. We've got our water pump shaft, our impeller. That's an old piece there. Our Kickstarter seal, our bearing and seal for our water pump. This is the internal seal. It's a rubber seal and plastic piece that goes in the back of the impeller. We have our mechanical seal here. Bolts, our gaskets. There is a washer, like a spacing washer, and then a sealing washer that goes on this shaft as you assemble the water pump. These are our bolts and crush washers for the oil check location and I guess it would be a drain or I guess it'd be like an air release location on the water pump cover. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to get started with installing this in the back of the impeller. Then we're going to get the mechanical seal on the outside of the water pump, the seal on the inside, and the bearing on the inside installed. And then we will go over installing the shaft and the impeller and assembling that into the clutch cover. Okay, first step I'm going to do is I'm going to separate these two. So I'm going to put a little dielectric grease on this. Just a smear so that it's not completely dry. I'm just going to press that into the impeller. Then I'm just going to take the rest of what I had on my fingers. Press that. There we go. We got that pressed right in. Next, after we do that, we're going to go ahead and put our mechanical seal into our case. I know that you could use a 1-inch 12 point. I've seen some other people use videos and say that in videos I've seen that you can use a 1-inch 12 point. I don't have one, but a 27 millimeter. I do have a 27 millimeter 12 point. That worked perfectly, as well as a oil pressure sensor socket, which was 27 millimeter, fit on there perfectly as well. So we're going to go ahead and position that to tap that into place. Okay, we've got that set up. We're going to go ahead and tap that seal in. In the manual, it does state that there is a specific seal press tool for putting this in. But again, I've seen other videos, assembly videos, where they've just been tapping it in, and other engine builders saying that it's perfectly fine doing that. And as you can see, that is sealed, all tapped in all the way around, fully seated. And there's your spring action. Next will be our inner seal on the water pump. And you can see this one it is open with the spring on one side. So I'm going to have that facing toward the oil side. I think I'm going to pack a little bit of red grease in there to keep that spring intact. What I am seeing is there is no actual lip for it to set against. So you got to be real careful tapping it in. I would assume that you don't, doesn't specify in the manual, I would assume that you don't push it all the way till it meets that mechanical seal on the other side. So you just want to push it, tap it in so that it's flush with the lip here, because then the bearing will sit right on top of there. Okay, I used a 5/8 long deep socket And the nice thing about that was the socket is just a little bigger than the opening that the seal goes into. So then you take it down and you'll hear it hit the housing, and then it's nice and flush. Makes the seal nice and flush with the surface of the housing there. Got our water pump bearing next. Had this in the freezer, hopefully shrink it down a little bit, make it a little easier to place it in there. Hopefully it should just drop right in, and there we go. We'll make sure that's seated using a 3/4 inch socket. That should fit perfectly over that bearing. And now that's in place. Now the next step on the water pump would be for us to install the shaft and then install the impeller. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and get the seal in for our Kickstarter. So again, oil seal, has the spring in the back. I'm going to pack some grease around here, and then we should be able to press this right into place. Okay, have the back all packed with grease. A little layer on the whole seal. Now we're just going to press this right in. Okay. Okay, that's in. Next step is we'll be putting the shaft and our impeller in. We have the washer that goes in place. This is the part number here, 90454-KA4-00. And then you have your sealing washer, which was a 90441-706-000. So this will slip in from the back side. Then you'll put your washer on. Then your impeller. Sorry, lost my sealing washer there for a second. Then our sealing washer. And then our acorn nut. Now we're going to go through and I'll show you how we tighten that up. Okay, I forgot to mention, put a dab of blue Loctite on this acorn nut, on this cap nut before you put it on. Now, there are a few ways of tightening this up. Sometimes people will put it together, they'll put the cover on, lock the shaft of the water pump into the pin on the counterbalancer to lock it in place, and then you torque it. The torque spec in the manual is 5 to 9 foot-pounds. I'm going to do about 6 or 7 just because I've seen that number mentioned by a few engine builders. I'm going to show you how I tighten it up. You don't want to, one of the things they say you don't want to do is you don't want to stick a screwdriver into the groove on the end of the shaft there. You could snap those ends off. You don't want to put a pair of vice grips on that shaft. You'll end up marring it up. I'm going to put this camera in position and then show you how I torque it. All right. Have my torque wrench set for about 6.5 foot-pounds. I'm going to take a small screwdriver. This is a 10mm nut. Fit the nut onto the cap. I'm going to use just a screwdriver just to lock the vanes of the water pump. And now you can go right ahead and torque it down. You're not going to hurt the shaft. You're not going to hurt the vanes of the water pump because you're only going to about 6.5 to 7 foot-pounds. You could take it all the way up to 9, but I don't think that is necessary. Almost there. And this just, there we go. Now you're going to find this is going to be very tight. Okay? Especially with brand new bearings and seals. Like this spins, it spins freely. It doesn't bind, but it is very tight. I was concerned about that. I messaged Carlos at BDT Motorsports. He told me that's completely normal for them to be real snug. You're going to feel a lot of drag. I mean, it spins nice and smooth and free, but it's got a lot of drag. You can feel the drag from the seal and the bearing. He says that's normal. That will break right in once it's on the bike and running. All right, so that is the installation of the water pump and getting that into place. I've just put my dowel pins in, and I'm going to go ahead and we have our gaskets. So we're going to set one gasket into place. Next is our separator. Then you put another gasket on. And then lastly would be our water pump cover. Now I'm not going to set this all the way on right now. I need to put some anti-seize in for those dowel pins. I always put anti-seize to the holes where the dowel pins are going to go so that they come out. So I'm going to put a little dab in there so that those will slip in. Then we're going to put this on, and I'm going to loosely snug it up for now because I want to be able to take that cover off if need be. And I'm probably going to put some sealant on those gaskets when I do final assembly, because I'm just going to set this onto the motor for right now, but I'll pull it back off when I go to do the clutch assembly and get all that put into place correctly. Okay, got our water pump cover bolts. There are 4, 2 32 millimeter, 2 25 millimeter. Going to put a little dab of anti-seize on them, drop them in. The longer 32 millimeter go on the holes where your dowels are. And then your shorter 25 millimeter go on the other 2. All right, we're going to torque them down. Okay, all 4 bolts are in. Again, I did not torque these down. I just basically just spun them in just to hold the cover on for right now. I'm going to go ahead and set the cover onto the motor. Go ahead and just set it in place right now until I can get to the clutch. Little tip when putting the cover on, you can see the pin in there. If you turn around and you point that pin like right toward one of the holes, like in that case right now it's pointing toward that top hole, you can then come over to your cover and spin it so that it lines right up. So like in this case, set the camera down here. We have it where it's lined right up, and as you can see, it does spin real easy. You wouldn't want to torque on this, but go ahead and line it right up with that hole. Now we should be able to go ahead and set the cover right in place. And you can see the cover slips right easily into place at that point. And that is it for the assembly of your right crankcase cover. Water pump assembly is complete. It will be a tight fit. There will be a lot of drag that will wear in very quickly once the motor is running. Gonna just leave this cover in place. It'll help keep the motor clean. I mean, I don't have it covered with a towel. We will be doing another video on the assembly of the clutch pack. That will be coming up next. That's all for today. I hope this helps anybody out there who is doing this. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to leave them below. Thank you very much, and if you like what we're doing, like and subscribe. Have a great day.